I think that the beginning of chapter 15 in Genesis has one of the oddest rituals I have ever come across. But it also speaks to some very human emotions. What if my life doesn't matter? What if all my energy, my time, my struggles really don't amount to very much and will have no lasting impact? I think everybody at some point in their life must think about these things. When I first read this passage on carving, I was very confused. I didn't know what to make of it. There were trances, there were animals, there was fire, smoke, horror, and dread. I mean, the passage has just about everything. But because I'm carving the Bible, I was forced to go slowly and read every word. I couldn't skim through it quickly and move on to something easier to understand. And as I did that, it started to make more sense. Let me read verse 3 of Genesis chapter 15. And Abram said, Lo, to me you have given no seed, and behold, a son of my house will be my heir. Abram is actually being rather cheeky here. He's saying to God, I have no child, I have no heir. And when he says a son of my house, he doesn't mean his own son, he means a servant. In the ancient Near East, children were what mattered. They were what left the legacy. They were the people that sustained you in the afterlife. They didn't think about heaven the way modern Christians do. People didn't go to heaven and be with God. They lived in some shadowy underworld. And they were remembered because of their children and their descendants. And if you didn't have any heirs, if you had no children, if you had no one to remember you, you would fade away even there. I think anxiety about having a life that matters is still a thing today. The fear of being forgotten is still part of our human experience. My name is Francisco and welcome to Carving the Bible. On this channel, I carve the Bible, and as I do that, I reflect on the passages I'm carving. As I was thinking about this passage, I thought it might actually explain part of why I'm carving the Bible. As you can see, I'm carving it into granite, one of the hardest stones available, verse by verse, word by word. The Protestant version of the Bible has more than 31,000 verses, and the English translation has more than 780,000 words. My friends think that I'm a little bit crazy to be doing this project, but in my mind, it's a way to put the Bible into a more durable medium than paper, helping to preserve it in stone for the far distant future. The paper that we use in our Bibles is not going to last very long, a few hundred years at most. In the magnetic ways we store information now in hard drives and so forth, that's even going to last even shorter amount of time. What do we have of civilizations thousands of years in the past? It's what's in stone for the most part, or in baked clay. And so my idea initially was that this project would help preserve the Bible in the same way. Not just certain passages or our favorite psalm, but the whole thing, word from beginning to end. But I'm thinking now that carving the Bible in granite might be also my way of leaving something lasting. I don't know if I'll finish it, or if it will stand the test of time. So I can empathize with Abram, faced with that concern, that his life would end without a legacy. And I think that Genesis 15 speaks to anybody who feels somewhat powerless about the future. But enough of my rant on this, let's move on with the video. So when Abram expresses this concern about not having an heir, what does God do? He makes another promise. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, This shall not be your heir, but he that will come forth out of your body shall be your heir. And he led him out and said, Look now toward the heavens, and number the stars, if you be able to number them. And he said to him, So shall your seed be. And he believed the Lord, and he reckoned it to him as righteousness. God promises heirs as numerous as the stars. But let's also remember that Abram's been promised this before. He's been promised this several times. Genesis chapter 12, he was promised to be the father of a great nation. In Genesis chapter 12, verse 7, he said, to your offspring I will give this land. And in chapter 13, he says that your offspring will be as numerous as the dust. So this kind of promise is something that Abram has heard before, and yet still he has no heir. He doesn't understand. And so we get to the strange ritual. And he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to possess it. And he said, Lord God, how shall I know that I shall possess it? And he said to him, take me a heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and the ram of 3 years old, and the turtle dove, and the young pigeon. And he took all these and divided them in the midst, and laid the half of each opposite its fellow. But the birds he did not divide. And the birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Abram scared them away. And the sun was just going down. A deep sleep fell upon Abram, and behold, a horror, a great darkness, fell upon him. And he said to Abram, know assuredly that your seed will be a sojourner in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them for 400 years. But also that nation which they shall serve I will judge, and afterwards they shall come out with great property. And you shall go to your fathers in peace, you shall be buried in a good old age. And in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass, when the sun had gone down, and it was dark, that behold, there was a smoking furnace, and a flame of fire, which passed between those pieces. So that's a strange ritual that's going on. Animals cut in half and put side to side next to each other. And then flame and fire passing between them. What's going on here? This is actually a treaty that is also seen in other cultures of the ancient Near East. What it really means is that the people crossing through, the people going through the parted pieces of animals are saying, if I break my oath, may I be torn apart like these animals are torn apart. That's the meaning of the ritual. But the interesting thing here is that it's only God, represented by that fire and the smoke, that walks in between them. So this covenant does not really depend on Abram or what he does. The commitment is the one that's made by God. He's the one who is walking between the pieces and making the commitment. Abram does not walk in between them. He is in a trance. The word in Hebrew for that trance is tardema. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't know for sure. And while he's in this trance, he is passive. He's immobile. He's not actually able to do anything except witness the ritual. But again, that's a very human experience. So many times we feel paralyzed that we don't know what to do. We're like Abram in that trance, suddenly experiencing this awe, this tremendous mystery of being alive and not really knowing what to do with that. During this ritual, God promises Abram descendants, but he tells him not yet. They'll suffer first for 400 years. You won't see the fulfillment of that promise. So in that sense, we share this idea that meaning takes longer than a lifetime. Many of us will plant trees that we will never sit under. We'll bear children whose future, whose lives we will not see the end of. Half of what we do will probably only blossom after we're gone. That is the human experience, encapsulated in this 15th chapter of the book of Genesis.